crazy is like I found a lot of the ammunition that I shipped in Germany, that because I was in charge of like all the shipping and marking
Yeah.
it all. I'm like, hey, I shipped that. like this is the stuff that I shipped like 3 months before it showed up
In
in
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Is like, oh,
Wow.
that's kind of like I recognize the stuff that I painted and like and marked. Like, hey, that's my handwriting.
Wow. That had to
But
be.
yeah, so like all the like the only big eventful thing that happened that deployment was the British tried to kill me. I was driving at night going to the ammunition supply point, which is on the back side of Bagram Air Base, and I come around the corner in my Humvee and their Land Rover. The British infantry fly around the corner and smack right into my Humvee head on. And this hand ends up flying through the windshield, and I got a massive contusion all over this arm. Windshield shatters into my face because they had a spare tire on the front of it.
Wow.
And kind of just perfectly that it comes right up the hood, smashes into the windshield. So I
Wow.
had that. British guy was a lot worse off because their drivers, they're on the other side,
Right.
and their passenger sitting out with his arm like this, shot this bone through the back of his arm.
Oh my gosh.
So they took both of us to the hospital, and so I was in a half cast for about 3 weeks. He went home. So
Really? Did you ever find out what happened to him? Did he?
I don't know. He probably had to have like surgery on his arm, so I have no idea. I didn't even know his name. I just know that we both rode in the ambulance together, and he was hurting pretty bad because we were right next to each other for a while in the hospital, and I just saw his bone sticking out of his arm.
Wow.
So,
What were the extent of your injuries?
I just had a contusion on my hand, and I still get like pain in my wrist today. So, it's, I think I get like arthritis or something. Feels, instead of being old, it's like an old injury. Like the swing shift, 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 11 o'clock at night. I think the only interesting thing I did was I ran a marathon because I had nothing else to do.
Really?
So
In that heat, huh?
What's that?
In that heat, huh?
In that heat. I would train at night. So I'd get off at work at 11 o'clock. I'd go run because it was the only time of day that you can actually do anything. So I would run for, they had the Marine Corps had their marathon. They ran parallel marathons all across the world for deployed soldiers or deployed Marines or whatever. And they were having one in Kuwait. So I'm like, I got 2 months. I'll train for a marathon. Why not? What else am I gonna do? So I trained at night, and then when the day came, got me and a few other people that were doing it, flew to the other base, and I ran a marathon in 105-degree weather.
Oh my gosh.
They started it at 4 o'clock in the morning so that it wouldn't be completely miserable. And I finished it in 4 hours and 53 minutes.
Wow.
So it was something.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Probably never run another one because it was completely miserable. But
So what does a typical day of a flight operations specialist look like at the facility?
Typically when I get in the morning, I'll check the flight schedule, see what's going on for the day. I'll update the schedule board. So when the crews come in, they know what they're doing, who they're flying with. Then I'll go check the flights for the previous night if they flew after I left for the day. Make sure that all the equipment was put away properly, make sure all the flight paperwork was filed properly. Then I'll take care of all the pay documents, make sure all the pay was filed and get that in the computers, make sure it was all budgeted properly. So a lot of like pay stuff, and make sure all that was taken care of. And then once the flight crews come in, I'll issue their equipment. And then once they go fly, I go talk to them on the radios, do their radio checks, and then monitor their flights while they're going in case something happens to them while they fly. I can get first responders on the way and that. So, and then plus a little other stuff during the day. If other flight crews call in saying they want to schedule a flight or we have a mission going out, I'm calling crews trying to get crews ready for that mission or any other stuff that needs done during the day that's non-standard. So it's not really that exciting. Yeah, during deployment, especially depending on like what situation I was in. On the medevac side, I was just sitting by a radio waiting on a phone call. Like the medevac, I was sitting in front of a computer all day. If you remember AOL Instant Messenger, we kind of had that up on the screen and sitting by a radio just waiting for an ambulance call. So I've been like a 911 dispatcher.
Gotcha.
And then plus checking in every hour or so, making sure our radios are good, plus doing some other stuff to maintain paperwork and equipment. But mainly I was just sitting there, and as soon as we get a call, I'm activating the crews, calling out on the radio, because our crews are like sitting in a ready room, ready to launch a helicopter within 15 minutes of when we get a call. So we'd have different, like condition Alpha, condition Bravo, condition Charlie, and depending on what the emergency was, they'd have certain windows to meet. Like if they had an Alpha, they'd have 15 minutes to have the aircraft in all ready to go to launch to go pick up their patient. So that's like an emergency situation, 15 minutes to get there, to be ready to go.
How many calls would you get a day?
Sometimes none.
Yeah.
There was a time where we didn't have a call for a month but that was during the height of COVID in Iraq, where it's like there was nothing going on.
Yeah.
But there's other times where we've gotten, multiple calls in a day. And there's some times where you'd get, you just don't know. It just depends on what the tempo's like.
Yeah.
So you have no idea.
What
So you just always have to be ready. You always have to be expecting a call. And you can never be like, oh, we're not going to get one. Never be lazy. Because it's like, you're dealing with somebody's life. And so always be ready.
At what point after this missile strike did you realize that something was not right and that you had TBI or?
It actually took a little while, because like you had the adrenaline going for a little bit, and I got kind of they ran through like concussion protocol like a couple days afterwards because the medical staff wasn't prepared. But I ended up having headaches for like a month straight. But that kind of was cut off a little bit because 2 days, it was like probably like a week after the missile strike, I was picking up breakfast for everybody, and I stepped out of a Connex, and there's like a curb, and I stepped on it weird, and I'm wearing like all my gear, and I rolled one ankle and fell on my other one, so I sprained one ankle and sprained my big toe on the other one. So I like jacked up both my feet like really bad. So I was like in a boot on one foot, and they gave me a bunch of pain medication. So the pain medication for my foot also took care of my headaches for like 3 weeks. And so, but as soon as I came off of that pain medication, I had like intense headaches. So headaches were so intense that they were almost evacuating me to Germany. They almost like sent me to the hospital over there. But I went to the hospital there in Al Asad and ended up seeing the doctor. They're getting ready to put me on a plane to get me out of country. And the doctor looked at my eyes. He's like, wait a second, there's something wrong with your eyes. But we have an optometrist in Baghdad that I want him to look at him, because if there's something wrong with your eyes that doesn't get checked out now, there's a possibility you could go blind. I'm like, that's not good.
Wow.
Fly me to Baghdad. So they medevaced me from my own unit, flew me to Baghdad, and turns out I was fine. He's like the optometrist, like, I can see why he sent you here, but you just have this your eyes just have this weird thing where it looks like you might have that, but you're perfectly fine. I'm like, okay, good. I'm not going blind, so
Good.
that's good. But now I'm stuck in Baghdad,
Huh.
where everything at this, where like now from where all the riots or everything are. So I ended up hopping a helicopter from that base in Baghdad to another base in Baghdad where one of our other medevac units are. Hang out with them for a few days, and then they fly me back to Al-Assad, still with headaches and everything. And this doctor decides, oh, I don't think you need to go to Germany. I'm going to put you on concussion protocol for 3 days, where you're gonna stay in your room, no lights, give you this medicine that's gonna pretty much knock you out. No lights, no phone, no nothing. You just lay down there with your eyes closed. So no brain stimulation whatsoever, no reading. So complete darkness for 3 days. It's like your only break is to when you eat food and you come see me. So I did that for 3 days, and surprisingly it helped. So 3 days, my head ache subsided from like a 7 or 8 on the pain scale down to a 3 or 4. So they became manageable, and I stayed in country. So instead of coming home and being evacuated, I'm like, all right. So I was able to continue working, and went back on shift and figured out how to manage my headaches, because I was still having them. They just became manageable. So I'm like, I'll continue my job, continue working. I just adjusted my sleep schedule because sleep was the best cure for my headaches. So I'd go on like an 8-hour shift, then go to sleep for like 3 or 4 hours, then get up and then go. So I figured out a way to get it so I could survive over there. So that's what I would do. I would say if you are struggling with something, it's like, it's not the end of the world. There's always life. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and there's people out there that have been through a tough time, and there's people that you can reach out to that have been in your shoes and that want to see you through. So definitely reach out to somebody, because there are tons of veterans out there that are like me, that have been through something, that want to help you. And get outside, find something to get out of here and out there. Whether it's hunting, fishing, working out, working on cars, you need to find something to get out of here. Because this is where this will kill you. Being inside here will kill you. And too many people get stuck in here when they need to be out there. And it's a trap. And here's a trap. And you just need to find your way out of there, because once you get in here, it becomes a downward spiral, and you just need to reach out, find somebody. There's tons and tons of organizations that will do it. Just get online, find any veterans organization. I know there's tons of them with hunting and fishing. There's tons of them with working out. There's tons of them with cars. There's tons of them. Just find your hobby and type in that hobby with veteran, and you'll find one. It doesn't matter what that is, you'll find one. This is the company that invented the rubber worm. He started in 1946, and we are producing all the old iconic lures. It's great, and it's been a lot of fun. We've been fishing with them, we've been producing them. We bought the company about a year ago, right after I came back from Iraq. It just kind of fell into our lap. We used to fish with these lures in high school, and we've got the opportunity, and we just took with it and ran with it. And now things are really starting to take off. We're getting into bait and tackle shops. We're selling on Amazon. We're selling on our website, and things are great. So it's, we even hooked a gar with them already. So it's awesome. So we've got lures for just about every kind of fish you can think of. And so we've got bass lures, we got musky lures, panfish. We got lures from, all the time, tiny little waxworms all the way up to a 16-inch musky lure that's, like giant, that like weighs almost like over half a pound. You're thinking throwing that thing all day. So, and everything in between. We got molds for like all these different types of bugs, and like a whole bunch of cool little stuff. We got tadpoles. We've got I can't even remember all the stuff we have. It's just came with so much stuff, and it's been such a blessing and so much fun to make these things. And it's so different from the Army, and it's a new passion. It's a new passion. It's a new passion, but it's an old passion too. Since I grew up in the outdoors, it's finally, I'm able to go back to something that I love. And it's getting me involved again, and something that feels normal. Like, I love the military, and I'm glad that I did it. But I'm ready to move on. It's the Army served me well. The National Guard served me well. I've met a lot of great people. You know how life just kind of sometimes throws something at you that you're not expecting, and opportunities sometimes present themselves that you never saw coming. We have to go back when I was in college, and my brother, actually, when he was in high school, we used to fish, and we had these fishing lures. The fish, they were by DeLong. We used to fish with them all the time. They were great lures. And all of a sudden, we couldn't find them anymore. So it was like, they were like great bass lures. So they were like these weedless worms and these like little twin-tailed frogs. So we would like fish for them. The bass used to like just slam them. They were like these anise-scented lures, and they just like worked great. And all of a sudden, like the bait and tackle shops just stopped carrying them, and we just disappeared. So last year, my brother was like, you know what, I'm gonna try and find them again. So he went online, and then he found out the entire company was for sale. So he called me and he's like, hey, do you want to buy a fishing lure company? I'm like, what? What? Really? He's like, yeah. You remember those fishing lures? I'm like, yeah. He's like, the whole company's for sale. You want to buy it? I'm like, how much? He's like, I don't know. Let me get back to you. He also called my cousin, because all three of us were in business with each other before. We had a little hunting blog that we used to run. So that we were kind of doing that. We did that after I deployed back to Kuwait. So just a little thing that we were doing together. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But so we were used to working with each other. So that's why you kind of all tied it together. But anyways, so he ends up doing like a little bit of the legwork, finding out, talking to this guy, and one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden we're all three driving from Ohio to Indiana to talk to this guy about buying this fishing lure company. And lo and behold, the deal is just too good to be true. And we come back from Indiana, start getting the money together, and we end up buying DeLong lures.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I know that I'm going to be getting out of the military, because I already see I'm going to be medically boarded, and I know what the findings are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And my cousin's ready to leave his job because he's just tired of it, and my brother's my brother, so so yeah, he's always wanting to try something different. So
Sure.
We're like, this is like the perfect opportunity. It's like hit us all at the right time in our lives to try something like this. So we all pull our money together. I take out a loan on my retirement, and my cousin gets his money together. My brother gets his stuff together, and we buy this company.
Awesome.
And we get it set up, and we're producing lures.
Great. So now you get to actually do
Now,
what you love.
now that I'm retired after,
Today.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
that I get to do it full time. So we've been set up for a year, doing it part time. And so we've been making fishing lures and selling them. We're already set up online. We're on Amazon. It's great.
Awesome. Very
And
cool.
so that's going to be my future,
Good.
is doing something in the outdoors, doing something fishing related, so I can,
And it's a lure that you grew up as a kid using
Yeah.
your entire life and catching fish on it.
yeah.
So.
And when I was doing that, I never expected to own the company.
Yeah, right.
So it's like Hair Club for Men. Not only am I also a client.
There you go. That's great.
Yeah.